What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today, as promised, we're going to be doing the comparison between the original Benchmade Griptilian and the new Ritter RSK MK1 G2. To save myself from that incredibly lengthy model number, I'm going to refer to this bottom one here from now on as the Hogue Ritter. Sorry again about the lighting. In my time, this video is being recorded on Thursday, and we're still being hit in Kansas by this inland hurricane. So the natural light that I normally use to record these videos is of no aid to me, and I'm having to use regular lighting here in my living room and the incandescent light setting on my camera to give you the best possible quality at my disposal right now, which is really not all that great. So I'm sorry about that. That's just the way that it is. This video probably won't be up until Saturday. Anyways, let's move on here. You guys are probably going to notice, hey, wait a second, that's not exactly the original Griptilian. That's the DLT Trading exclusive with the carbon fiber scales that are not contoured. They're actually flat. I did bring with me today an original Griptilian scale, the FRN, just so that I can make the appropriate comparisons when necessary. Otherwise, that top Griptilian is almost exactly the same as any regular Griptilian. The measurements on these two knives are exactly the same. They are both 8 inches overall, so there's no difference there. We are at an angle though, so when you look at these two, it might look like the one on top is a little bit longer, but it isn't. I'll just switch them up here so you guys can see. There is a difference in blade shape and, total blade height, and we'll get into that. Let's go ahead and weigh the two. Now, this carbon fiber one, I believe, is a little bit heavier than the original G10 Benchmade Griptilian. The true original is still FRN and is quite a bit lighter, but we're gonna move forward assuming that this is the upgraded G10 Griptilian, and better yet, 4.2 ounces on that guy, by the way. Better yet, the other KnifeWorks exclusive Griptilian, not this guy, the other one, the lesser known one, in, well, to some people, in micarta and M390. That is, before this guy, it was probably the best deal you could find on a Benchmade Griptilian. I think it runs $169. It's almost exactly the same thing, except it's micarta instead of G10. So we're looking at 4.2 ounces on the Griptilian, the regular Griptilian there, and 4.55 ounces on the Ritter Hogue. So marginal difference in weight. That's a negligent difference in weight, actually. It's not a difference in weight that should affect anybody. I'm sure there's some people out there who might want to say that they make their choice based on 0.3 ounces, but I don't know if you're prioritizing the right things if that's the case. So anyways, let's take a look at the blades on these two guys. Now, I know that there's a sheep's foot version, but just to compare the most appropriate version of this versus the Ritter Hogue, we use the original Benchmade Griptilian drop point blade, and you can see there the height on the Ritter grip is much greater on the Ritter Hogue, and that's been the case since the Ritter grip was available. What you end up with is a blade that favors slicing ability or cutting performance over strength. You can see these are both the exact same thickness. That flat that carries out on the Benchmade Griptilian leads me to believe this one might have a little bit more strength, but you can see the spine thickness there down to the tip. It's pretty darn similar between the two. So really, I think you just kind of gain a little bit of ability and slicing performance on the Ritter grip versus the Griptilian overall. We'll go ahead and take a pass through a piece of paper just so that I can compare and tell you what I honestly think. Come on now. God, that thing is slicey. Let's try it with the standard grip. Yeah, so both of them cut extremely well. I'm not going to say that the Benchmade Griptilian, the original blade, does not slice well, because it does. The Ritter Hogue just slices better. But it's like, this feels like 85 to 90% the Ritter Hogue. And that's just a feeling of like completion that you get with the Ritter Hogue. It's just like a one more minor upgrade or polish that the Ritter Hogue has over the Benchmade Griptilian. And that's, truthfully, that's going to be what this video is. This isn't really going to be a video where I like you know, slowly make points for one and maybe against the other, and they kind of stay neck and neck the whole time, and then one barely wins. No, truthfully, what this is I'm going to be going over the differences between the two, but to save some of you some time, if you want to move on to the next video, the Hogue Ritter is, in my opinion, a better knife all the way around. So anyways, moving on here. The finish on the original, hit my camera. The finish on the original Griptilian blade is nice, and the edge is well done, at least on this one. But I personally prefer the finish on the Ritter a little bit more. That stone washing, a little bit heavier stone washing, and a little bit more reflectivity, honestly. So I think it just looks better. Now, the original texture pattern on the Griptilian looks like this. And if we're comparing, I wish that I had the micarta exclusive from Knife Works to compare, because that probably would be the best version to compare. It has the same texture pattern as this one, which looks just like this. I prefer the texture pattern on the Ritter grip, both in terms of how grippy it is, and you know, also how it slides in and out of the pocket, and honestly how it looks. Now the look is going to be, you know, different for every single person, so you don't necessarily have to agree with me there. But if I'm being honest, I really like how the Ritter grip slips in and out of the pocket and how it feels. It just feels a little bit more secure. Some of you are going to like carbon fiber more, and then in that case you can pay $230 for the DLT exclusive version that you're seeing in front of you. But anyways, if we turn it this way, something that is actually the same, both on the you know, the 20CV official Benchmade upgrade version of this knife and this DLT version, and the other Knife Works exclusive in micarta, they all have, let me focus here, sorry guys, they all have open body pillar construction designs. The original with the micarta does not, but you can see there, open body and open body. The standoffs are a little bit different. You see these same standoffs you know, on the actual Benchmade versions. The placement of the standoffs is a little bit different. You can see they both come down there to the bottom. This particular version of the knife does not have a lanyard hole. And actually, now that I think about it, does the Benchmade Griptilian, does the 20CV version have one? I can't remember. The Ritter does. I want to say the 20CV version of it has it, and the micarta version that you can get exclusively through Knife Works also has it. This carbon fiber version does not, and oh yeah, there it is right there. It's just in a different place. So here it is right here. We're stumbling around this, guys. It's located here on this one, and then in my opinion on the Hogue Ritter, it's in a much better place up there. But anyways, the standoffs are in a slightly different position. The first two are pretty close together, but the third one is a little bit further down. And I don't know that that matters too much. It does make it a little bit easier to get a microfiber cloth in there and kind of pull it through and floss it, you know. I feel like we all kind of clean our knives out the same way. If we're not using compressed air, we just kind of, we jam a microfiber cloth in there and just kind of floss it around. Yeah, you know, that's really nice. And it works out well, but the placement of the standoffs is not really that big of a deal. Moving on here, we have much better hardware, in my opinion, on the Ritter. Let's focus up here real quick. Oh, that's my doorbell, so we're gonna have to cut this video real quick, and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. That was the mailman bringing me so many packages. Oh my gosh, we've got some unboxings to do. Some of those will appear before this video. Some of them will appear on the same day. Maybe I'll have some on Sunday. I don't know. Whatever. We just kind of wing it here on this channel. If you're new to if you're new to this. Anyways, what were we talking about here? Oh, we were talking about the hardware. Golly. Okay. So the hardware between these two. I much prefer the hardware on the Ritter. You can see there that they're one size up from this stupid teeny tiny size. I've said this so many times on this channel. I hate those. They destroy tools and they strip out, and then you gotta wait, and that sucks. Just use these. These are one size up. It's easier to get your tools in there. The tool that the Torx head you're going to be putting in there is going to be more substantial anyway. So it's easier on the tool, it's easier on the head, and it's easier to get traction when you're trying to torque on those. Now, whether or not the knife is covered for disassembly is still up in the air. It looks like it's not. So that's one thing that that stinks. Now, I don't know what Benchmade's official policy is on that. I know you're not supposed to put aftermarket parts between the two, but I don't know if it voids the Benchmade warranty if you take the scales off and try to clean it. The way that it looks like on the Hogue warranty here, and I showed it in the review. For those of you who didn't watch that review, it actually says right here, do not disassemble the knife, blah, 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 blah. You can take the pocket clip off, that's fine, and you can take the scales off certain fixed blades, but it's going to void your warranty if you disassemble the knife. So I'll let you guys pause that and read that there if you want to. But so that kind of stinks, but that's about the only thing that might not be super good about the Hogue Ritter. Other than that, let's take a look at the thumb studs here. You can see the thumb studs are quite a bit different. On the new Hogue Ritter, you have a much more flashy design on the thumb studs, but you have these grooves that are cut out, I guess, for maybe a little bit of additional traction when you're deploying it. The truth of the matter is that it just looks nice, because both of these, the Griptilian is one of the most thumb stud friendly, if not the most thumb stud friendly deployer in existence. It doesn't matter if you are deploying the Ritter version or if you're deploying the Benchmade version, they're both incredible. So that's not really a factor that's going to change anything, or it shouldn't, because honestly they feel about the same. The axis lock heads are also a little bit different to reflect the same style on both knives. This one matches this one, and this one matches this one. Tension between the two, the Ritter feels like it's got a little bit more tension, but they both function just fine. Neither of these have blade play, but you guys are going to know with Benchmade's track record, that's not always the case. With Benchmade, it's always better to handle one in a store if you can, because you may not have one that actually has no blade play or lock rock or anything like that. You may get one with wonky edge grinds or all that stuff. You may not get one that's centered. This is a great example actually, because this $232 version from DLT Trading did not come centered. And that's annoying. It's not a deal breaker because it doesn't rub. It's annoying. The Hogue Ritter came absolutely 100% perfectly centered. So that's great. But the edge also came perfect. Everything else is perfect. Fit and finish between these two in particular is plenty good. So I have no complaints there. Couple other interesting things to point out here. Number one, the handle on the original Benchmade Griptilian, we use the one with the scale here so you can see. It is contoured. This is how this part looks in here. Now on the Ritter though, you've got this extra little bump, and it's it creates ever so slightly more lock-in for your hand because your finger falls naturally into that slot right there, whereas this one is just a straight curve. Not that big of a deal, but it's interesting, and it does set the two handles apart a little bit, whereas they would otherwise be identical. So that's something to consider. I like that a little bit more. You may not, or you may not care. A more substantial difference between these two is actually in how the axis bar reacts with the blade when you close it. On this one, I need a new phone. On this one, the blade simply, it feels like every other axis lock. Resistance builds up to about right there, and then it closes. On this one, and that's because, if we look in here, you can see that little lip. Once it falls over the lip right there, the axis bar, it closes. The lip on this one is either at a different angle or it's a little bit more substantial, because when it approaches that point, the friction is much higher, and it's almost a click right there. It's a very definitive point where the blade is going to close, whereas this one kind of mushes over it. It feels not quite like a detent, but a little bit more. I don't know if it actually creates a situation where deployment is more sure because of the amount of kinetic energy that's built up on your thumb behind that thumb stud. I don't know. I can't find a utilitarian advantage for that. It just seems to be, it's one of those things where that's the way that it is, it doesn't create a disadvantage, and it doesn't create an obvious advantage, that at least as far as I can tell. So it's just there, and that's about that. Now, moving on to the pocket clips, both of these in this case are the deep carry ones. If you get any version of the Benchmade Griptilian that I'm aware of that's upgraded to either 20CV or M390 steel, it's going to come for the most part with this style pocket clip. This is a great clip. It functions very well. I prefer the Doug Ritter version, which is essentially it's like I said in the review, it's a combination of the Spyderco spoon clip, the Benchmade deep carry clip. It's essentially just those two put together, or the best parts of those into one clip. And as of right now, this new Ritter clip is my favorite clip that exists. I think it looks better. It functions ever so slightly better in terms of just the draw from your pocket. And I honestly just like it more all the way around, you know, but that's going to be a preference thing. They're both so close in function, it's not really going to matter. I want to make this very clear. The Benchmade Griptilian, the original, is a very, very good knife. It's one of the best pocket knives on the planet, and it's going to remain to be until we take some sort of major leap in the knife world, which I hope and honestly think is coming. It's like I said in the review of the new Ritter Hogue. This knife is single-handedly forcing or heavily suggesting the evolution of the modern tactical folding knife, because they've pretty much done everything that you could do and checked every box as far as what the common man wants and needs in a premium folding knife. And they're offering that very same folding knife for $152. They did it. So, I mean, honestly, I'm still going to review knives, and there's still stuff out there that I want to review, you know, that I'm attracted to aesthetically. But in terms of function, all that really can and should be accomplished in this particular evolutionary step in the modern tactical folding knife world, it's kind of been done. Until we take the next big step, the Hogue Ritter is it's where it's at. You need to get your hands on this knife. Now, that's not to say that the Benchmade version or the upgraded Benchmade version is not a good knife. Some people are going to continue to prefer that version of the knife, and there's nothing wrong with that. My brother has this knife. In fact, I built him a custom one, and I still think it's one of the very best knives out there. This is specifically the version I built him. If you want to check that video out, you can if you dig back far enough in my channel. It's a great knife. But it's great, you know. And the best version of it, honestly, aside from the Hogue Ritter, is actually also, like I said, on the KnifeWorks website. It's a KnifeWorks exclusive. I forget the exact model number, but it's an M390 Griptilian with the same blade as the one on top. It has micarta scales, black micarta scales that look exactly like this, and it's got the silver standoff. So it's essentially the exact same knife as the Ritter, except it has a different texture pattern on the G10 scales. It's got a different blade shape, and it's got a different handle material. The problem with that one even is that it's $169. So they're still wanting $18 more than the Hogue Ritter for no apparent reason. The only reason that, in my opinion, that you should buy that other one is if you, number one, just like micarta more than G10 for whatever reason. I don't think that there are differences, but they're minor. You know, I mean, as far as like durability and weight and all that stuff, they're almost exactly the same. Or the other reason is if you just like the original design and the original blade shape of the original Griptilian better, and you're willing to pay $18 more to have that. So, I mean, as far as how I'm going to conclude this video, me personally, the Hogue Ritter is better. It's more aesthetically preferable to me, and it's also more preferable in a utilitarian sense. But both of these knives remain to be two of the very best folding knives on the planet. If you have never checked out a Benchmade Griptilian, I don't really care which one of these you go for. I'm gonna suggest the Hogue Ritter. I don't really care though. You need to get your hands on one of these and use them because they make excellent tools. They will bring you joy. They have that fidget factor. You know, it's fun to manipulate the axis lock. I annoyed the crap out of my wife last night while watching. I'm not going to tell you what show we're watching. You guys will just ruin it. But I annoyed her like crazy messing around with these axis locks, you know, getting a good feel for the differences between the two. And, you know, it has that element to it, you know, so it's got everything. Performance, capability, which are kind of both the same thing, excellent materials, fidget factor, all that stuff. And they're going to last for a really long time. So check one of those out. Do yourself a favor and check one of these out. That's pretty much going to be it for the video today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, sorry about the lighting and the quality. This is the best I could do. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So please check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.